hope everything's working. If it's not, I'm going to start over again and say all this stuff all over again. So my name is Ron Pare. We're chugging along on a project for my buddy Sparky 107. Dave, these videos are for you. So I'm going to be recording a few tutorials through this live stream, and those tutorials are like, you might think that my channel's all about tutorials, but it isn't really. Camera's over here, sorry. So, my channel's really a, just as it says on these shirts that are for sale, 25 bucks. Shipping depends where you are. Follow along as the build unfolds. That's what it says in the red line underneath here. Follow along as the build unfolds. And that's what I've always aspired to do. I didn't want to make tutorials because most of the time I learned those tutorials from other people. And in my experience, that's the one thing that gets forgotten in a tutorial, is where did you learn the trick? But today, we're going to do a tutorial because I learned a new trick on my own. And over, since September, I've been using trial and error to figure out what this is, what this whole score is all about. So, do I have any photographs? Let me find these pieces. Perfect. Okay, so back in September, I got the flock box, for flock's sakes. That'll never get old. The flock box. So the flock box is it's a static generator for static grasses and stuff like that, but it was created for the tabletop community, for small spaces. They want to do things exact. I want a rose bush, for Christ's sakes. You can build a rose bush on this very easy, a lot easier than your $250 static $250 notch Grassmaster, which is this thing used for large areas, right? And this thing can easily do large areas because instead of just having this plate where you have to work off the plate, you got the wires to be able to extend it. And I've got a nice big metal sieve over there. If you want to watch the review video, go back and watch the review. However, during that review, I bought matte medium because way back in the day, I watched Dave Frary video where he said for these super trees to use matte medium to glue everything together. Well, I don't know if I screwed it up, if Dave was using a different product or what. But after a few tries, I realized that the matte medium was working, but if you look on the back, something was happening, right? So the matte medium was turning stark white if it dried in a puddle. So that started me to thinking that we can do mortar lines for our brickwork with matte medium. But how do you recreate the issue I had here? So, where are you? I just had it. There you are. Okay. So I have to cover the nice part. So, up here, we've got matte medium painted straight onto the structure, and it gives a gray mortar line that is really, it's not stark white or in any way. And when we go down from this line, we start getting what I'm doing. And if we turn it upside down, you can see the bricks look beauty. Looks really good. But it takes a few steps to do this. And I'm going to show you how it's done. So, to get it out of the mix, we're not doing a Discovery Channel show here where you have to wait till the end after I go through a few commercials and all that jazz. Not going to happen. Let's just tell you how it works. So we've got water with a couple of drops of dish soap. And this is the trick right here. Right here. We've got Liquitex Ultra Matte Medium. The dish soap binds the talc or whatever matte substance is in here, and it makes it stark white. And that is what turned this sheet like this in the end. This sheet wouldn't be like this if I had used glycerin in my Liquitex, because glycerin doesn't do that. But that's just another story. It actually does turn opaque. It's not perfectly clear. I'm sorry, I keep on looking at the monitor and it kind of looks silly, doesn't it? But that's another story. So if you want to make your own brick, the process is you paint your brick. You let it cure for 24 to 48 hours, or you heat it dry. You let it cure so it hardens up. Then you take your brush, you dip it in water and with a couple of drops of dish soap. Then you stick it in your matte medium and brush it on your building, and you let it sit there for a few seconds, right? Then you have to start washing it off with a damp brush, a lightly damped brush. I use this magic eraser. I only do that because it's got a tight, well, that's the way it started out. It was tight. Now it's not so tight anymore. So I don't know, a stiff sponge. I was experimenting with this yesterday. What you got to do to really get this stuff going up. Oh gosh, I know I'm streaming live, but I'm gonna cut the recording so it looks good. Between you and me, this is how the cookie crumbles. Okay. Step 1. You paint your structure your brick color, whether you use spray paint or otherwise. I'm going to have a tutorial coming out about how to use spray paint on a Craftsman structure and have it work. I was going to use my airbrush. However, I couldn't really get the the colors that I wanted, and the spray paint was just there, and it was super cheap. And I've got a new technique that works great for it. I have a whole bunch of stuff painted, but I don't want to show Sparky it yet. I'm sorry. So, you paint it your brick red or whatever color you want for your brick. Then, you take your water and dish soap impregnated brush, grab some ultra matte medium, Liquitex ultra matte medium. You paint the entire wall, and you pretty much just let it sit. You let it sit. You can take a light brush and wipe off the excess, but the real trick is after the fact, you let it dry for a few hours. You let it dry for a few hours, and what will happen is, let's change cameras here and show. Okay. Get some water here. Where do we got water? We got water right here. So I'm gonna spray the water on the wall and use something like a scraper. So you let the water soak in a little bit, it'll work a hell of a lot better. But basically all you're doing is cleaning off the faces of the brick. I hope you can see that. And what is left behind is the most realistic mortar lines that you can get in the industry. I've used everybody's techniques. I've seen how they've done it. I've tried them all. And this is the smartest way I've ever seen, because what it does is all the other techniques, sure they put mortars in the line, but they also mortar the face of the brick. And it's really hard to clean that off. And a lot of people don't even try to clean it off. You could often see structures that are like, have that gray film over them. And, well, I've never seen anybody do this technique before. Probably because it's got a couple steps, and I like to do things the hard way. But if you see anybody doing this and they're not crediting me for it, then you know where you seen it first. So let's get up here close and show that small part. Oh, it's right here. Now that's some brick. And up above it is what you usually see people's bricks walls look like. So I'm going to take this and just do the rest of this. Actually, it might be better to do it this way. Huh. I don't think a wire brush would work for this. And actually, I got to do this to a great big structure for Sparky, so I'm not going to waste my time on this too much anymore. Maybe I'll get my daughter to do it. I think that maybe if you really soak this up with maybe wet water, it might actually come off with your finger. So there's multiple ways of doing this. Let's try this. This might work too. Just a little bit. I hate that noise. I don't even know if anybody's watching anyways. So, yeah. As you can see, we've got brick mortar lines. It's drop dead easy technique. And it came out of one of my massive mistakes, which is pretty normal for modeling. Most of your best techniques come out from a happy mistake. I don't know. Okay. So I'm going to go outside, spray paint this wall, and I guess in tomorrow's live stream, how long have we been doing this? 16 minutes. Tomorrow's live stream, we'll do the next step on this wall. I'm not going to build the entire building on camera because it really is too big to get on camera. What my idea was from the beginning is we've got concrete lintels here for the bottom of the windows. So those are going to be gray. Those aren't in yet. All the rest of this is going to be, well, we've got to tape off this header here. There we go. And I'm going to cut the bottom off. Really hard for me to see through this. I had to turn down the lights because it was glaring on camera so much. I'm gonna cut it a little proud and then cut it back. Okay. Come on, you bugger. This is the issue with bad eyes. I know what I want to grab, but I can't see it. Now I want to keep this raw because we have to paint it gray. And The thing about that is that, like, if we had painted it red, the whole wall, and then tried to paint gray on this, it would take, like, we would have to wait like 48 hours for the whole paint to cure, and then paint gray over it, and then we'd still have problem with the color leaching through. So we would always have that issue. Like, sure, I could seal it and all that jazz, but this is what I'm doing, so put up with it. Okay, next step. This goes on top of my heater. This is a pot of hot water. And this is a can of burnt orange spray paint. Burnt orange is the color. Yeah, it is a gloss, but we're putting matte medium, ultra matte medium over it. It was the perfect color for the brick that was in St. Thomas. And all the other models that I've seen of that station built, I don't think they've really matched the color all that well. Well, it's you know what, one of the hardest things in art is to match colors, and you really have to have an eye for something to do it. And my ideas are not going to be proven until, you know, you see the models side by side, or you see two pictures of the model in the same kind of light. So this paint is getting put into the hot water, and we're doing that because if your spray paint is warm, let's change this camera. So if your spray paint is warm, when you spray it to the wall, it will adhere to the wood immediately. And it'll dry very quickly, and all of the solvents will dry out of it faster. So that's why I do this. Well, it is also a requirement because this is late November, early December, and I live in Canada, so it's cold outside. So these things have to be the proper temperature to be painted on outside. That's where I'm painting these. So we'll be right back after I paint the wood. I'll put on the music. Give me some music.
Just let me try. Let me try. Let me try. Feels like a road to something new. Keep me waking, I'll keep you. Little steps away, I can't let you go until the end of day. Just letting you know.
That's enough of that stuff. Okay, so we got it painted. These are going to get put up on a board to dry. Luckily for us, yesterday I did an entire wall. So tonight's project will be to brick this wall, to put my ultra matte medium mix, run the tutorial, use all various little scrapey devices to get that brick looking right. And yeah, so I guess we'll go like this and say see you next week. There we go. You're gonna get it on. It's really hard to get this thing on screen, man. I think it's the right color. What do you think? Anyways, if you want to buy yourself a Modelers Guild shirt, you can contact me on Facebook, Modelers Guild on Facebook. Comment below to get my email address, pare.ron@gmail.com, patreon.com/ronperry. Talk to you later.